introducing Łukasz, the chief octopus at Mimic Protocol. Moderating the panel with him, we have Paweł from Chronicle, Marta, SubQuery, Ivan Slayer from Coinbase, and Krzysztof Urbański from L2s. And now I'm going to hand over to Łukasz, and I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to give you the stage.
Thank you, Paulina. I think that having 3 ETHWarsaw members here on the stage means that like we're true builders and that we're in the infrastructure play, which is I think good. So today we've got a really great lineup, and what we're gonna discuss here is like, are we there yet? So in the previous bear cycle, everyone's been focused on infrastructure. Like we need rollups, we need better oracles, we need better indexers, like we need better infrastructure so people can build applications. So what we're gonna try to achieve today in this panel is to establish like, are we there yet? Are we ready to onboard builders? And if the infrastructure stack is enough how it is, or is there more innovation in front of us? And like, do we still need to grind a little bit more in our in what we all are doing? And basically start building the applications. Paulina did the introduction, so I think we can skip it. I think like the question I would like to start this panel, and like it's an open question, feel free to pick up the mic. But if a Web2 developer joined this room today to build a mainstream app, would our infrastructure stack be ready? And like, would they be able to easily build an on-chain app, or would they just run away?
I can maybe start. Hi, I'm Marta, head of BD at SubQuery, and one of those 3 people who are part of ETHWarsaw team. Thanks for having me here. We had, I'm not sure how many of you saw Diab Dan presentation. He had a keynote here like an hour ago, and he discussed a lot of it. And I think that there is a lot of infra tooling, and it's much better right now where we are than we were like 1 year or 2 years ago. SubQuery is, we are on the market for 4+ years, and as an infrastructure provider. And when we started, there were not so much diversity. Now we have way more tooling and way more, a bigger number of providers, which is great because developers have more choice. A lot of teams are putting a lot of efforts into developer education, which is also important and great, but we need more standardization, we need better docs, and we need better developer engagement, I think. And when you look at reports around what is the influx of developers into our ecosystem, we see Ethereum is still there on top, but Solana is catching up, and the influx of new developers is quite big in Solana. So there is a question, what Solana is doing differently, why there is an interest in becoming a developer in Solana, not in Ethereum. And then another thing is that it looks like from the data from the last year that we have a lot of new developers coming into the, let's say, broadly speaking, blockchain ecosystem, but the group of those who stay around drops in 1 year. So it looks like they're coming here, they look around, they start building, right? But maybe there is a gap that we need to fill. And probably we all will be talking about that, what we can do if they are not staying around, right? So we see a massive drop in a year, in the first year. So I will start with that.
Hello. Really, I think we're at a really pivotal time in that, like even yesterday and the day before, we were involved with the Urbe Bootcamp. Is anyone here who was at the Urbe Bootcamp? It's also on at the moment in the venue, so I'm not sure, maybe not. But yeah, basically their goal is to take builders from zero to hero. We used base dev tooling and infrastructure for them to start deploying their first app. So I'm sure they're probably in the middle of their AI coding, vibe coding sessions, but I think we're really at a stage where people can come in, maybe they've prior dev knowledge, but not on-chain knowledge. The docs plus AI using Claude, things like that, they're able to come to a point where they're getting apps deployed. They understand now, okay, we can just pull components from different providers, and they're getting their apps on chain. I have seen on the other hand, though, I think from more institutional enterprise side, there's a lot of Web2 companies now who want to bring components and parts of their business on chain. And of course, we have the tooling there for kind of the the developers who are looking to implement it, but we don't have as much plug-in infrastructure, I think, for larger enterprises and things like that. So I think that's probably where we're at now. There's kind of that gold rush in terms of a lot of these businesses wanting to come on chain and utilize stable coins, etc. So we're getting there, but there's still more work to do for sure.
If you can pass the mic.
So my perspective on this is that like I'm old enough that I remember the times when in order to use a Linux workstation or Linux server, you had to start by configuring and compiling your own kernel. And I remember back in the days like late 90s when we were doing this, I remember all those very important serious people in suits from Novel Network, for example, who were explaining everybody that this technology is not going to go anywhere. Serious businesses cannot use the technology that's being created by some kids in the internet. Yet, right now, 30 years later, Linux and open software is running the world. So and when I see, I'm not a builder like developer myself, but I work with a lot of builders, a lot of developers, and I see that there is a huge potential. There is this huge energy, and that it's already possible. That we can already build amazing stuff using this technology. I think that Coinbase is a great example. Like if you've ever used Base app, you know that we already can build really amazing stuff using this technology. And there are companies, there are people who already realize that. What I believe as the biggest obstacle, and where I believe that we might not be there yet, is on the legal front, for example. Like I think that at least for me, the biggest obstacle to onboard a lot of people in Poland into crypto is not the technology. It's for them to be able to understand, okay, how do I actually report this in my tax report? How do I treat this? How do I, like, if I sell an NFT, what did I exactly do? Do I have to pay a VAT tax for it? Or like, do I how do I report it? So these are things that, in my opinion, need to change. And also there needs to be some kind of a mind shift that it's possible, that we can do it. Again, coming back to the history, I remember when mobile apps were this like new thing that nobody really understood, and people were like, hey, like these apps are crunchy. Like we like our good desktop applications. I don't want to use those mobile apps. Again, people's attitude changed. Like some people had to die, some new people had to be onboarded in order for the world to move on. And I believe that that's the same what will happen with our technology. But definitely from my perspective, of course, there are a lot of things that can be improved still. There are some gaps, there are things that we still have to build, but the technology is there. We are free to build and change the world.
Let's hope no one's gonna die during this hackathon, and we're only gonna have builders.
Hope so.
And I think, Krzysztof, you need to crash the ETH legal stage. Like it seems you have, some questions about the legal and tax side. So you have people over there that can try to answer it. Paweł?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, sorry, if I can add to it. Actually, it's actually great and amazing that we have those people here. I think that the fact that the Minister of Finance gave honorable patronage to this conference, like not enough people really appreciate how big of a step it is. I've been working with the government and the regulatory offices for like 6 years now, and the shift in the attitude, of course, coming from the West and from across the ocean, but the shift in attitude is real, visible, and tangible already. And I think that it was slowly, but soon it will be suddenly that we'll wake up in a different world.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I agree. And but I wanted to say that crypto is actually scary for someone that comes from Web 2, like well-established technologies of web APIs or web applications. Going to crypto is super scary. I've experienced that multiple times actually. And then there's the FOMO that you have, it took me a few years, actually, about 4 or 5 years, to stop feeling a lot of FOMO. Of course, there's a lot of FOMO still, but like it's way less than years before. And for technologies, we have made great steps toward inclusivity and toward this whole system being simple, because MakerDAO, for example, 8 years ago has been building their own or our own, I should say, because we are like stem from MakerDAO, but have been building their own tooling because there were no tools to help deploy or compile, test properly, and do the smart contracts in a way that is sustainable. So from a lot of bash, which is amazingly the most popular technology in all technologies, in all IT. From bash, we go to simple tools like Foundry and the whole suite of Foundry that is easier to work with. So we've made a lot of improvements, but we've got a lot of things to do still.
Okay.
Can I add to it as well? But you were first, I think.
Quick question. What eliminated your fear?
I think I just like it was too much, and at one moment I said, okay, I'm not gonna think about it. I'm not gonna think about the candles, whether they are green or red. Like, did I enter at the exact perfect time or something, or did I waste all of my savings to do something? Like, you just don't think about it. And fortunately, I'm a developer, so I can focus on developing. But Chronicle is working with prices, so I look at the prices every day, and this made things worse. But yeah, like it's just experience.
And for people who are here, who maybe developers for the first time and who have some fear, what would you say to them?
I would just say focus on developing, focus on building. You don't have to be like coding per se, but focus on building, on ideas, and on meeting nice people like here at ETHWarsaw.
Yeah.
Um,
Wanted to add
Yeah.
to the thread because I started on a negative note, but there is a lot of positive aspects, and even if there are gaps and there is a space for improvement, I do agree that the tech is here, and we are in a different place right now than we were 10 years ago, and there is a platform of tools, like so many tools people can build on, and a lot of established documentation and developer support, so it is much better. But when I look at our space, I see a lot of infrastructure projects, a lot of networks, a lot of services around that. So like marketing, security, finance, but I don't see so many applications yet, and also end users. So I think those are the gaps. Like, we need more applications being built using our technology. We need more end users. And I think it's also connected with lack of trust in the space. And if it comes from a developer and technical person, this means something, right? Because I mean, if someone has lack of trust into our space, no matter if they're technical or not, it means a lot. But if someone is technical and have fear or doesn't know how to operate in the system, or drops the entire interest, that's not good. So we have to change something. And I think we have to focus on developer experience and also user experience, because our space is highly intimidating, and we want to drive broad adoption. We need to fight with the lack of trust, and we can do it through great experience as an end user or a developer.
Okay, thank you all. It seems that we have got pretty much a consensus that like we are in a good place right now. So I want to dive a little bit deeper into different areas. So obviously, you know, the big fight is always like L1s versus L2s. Like, you know, where should builders build? Like, how should they assess, and like how should they decide, like, you know, where do they onboard? So first question I have to Evan, like from your perspective, do you think L2s today are there like production ready in terms of like, you know, onboarding new builders and users? Are we like still in some sort of a test net? Obviously, you know, you have some mature layer 2s like, you know, Arbitrum Base, Optimism, that has been, you know, battle tested. You have got some others as well. You know, how should builders assess them in terms of like, you know, where should they build, and like if they're ready or not?
Yeah, no, really good question. I think to answer your first question, are we there yet? Like, we're all kind of building out and trying to figure out what the best way to do it is. Base is an L2. We have new companies launching L1s, so no one is really sure what is the best opportunity. But at the same time, deploying our own chain and everything like that, we've received a lot of validation from the other companies who have deployed chains, maybe not on Ethereum or sidechain. We've always believed really in the power of Ethereum and security provided by Ethereum. But I think to answer your question there, it really comes down to who is your user base. If you're developing an app and you want to optimize security on Ethereum, but you're not like a huge consumer base, maybe Ethereum's the answer. But if you're really trying to scale and access sub-second transactions and sub-cent fees for your consumer and your users, you probably opt for something like an L2. So yeah, I think we're learning a lot. We're getting there. Interoperability then I think is the next phase that we're in or coming into. But yeah, we're still building and still growing, and I think each builder has to decide what is the best for their application.
But do you think is it still like a tech game that builders decide, okay, I will build on ZK rollup, or I'll build on optimistic rollup, or is it more about distribution? Like, okay, if I'm going to build on base, who can I access, like what users I can access, or like what brands? Back in the last cycle, we had Polygon that had all those huge deals like Starbucks and a few others that I can't recall right now that today probably no one remembers. And the tech is, I would say it's not the best. Like, it's not the best what we have out of the market. So is it still the tech game, or is it more distribution game? If the builders want to decide like on which layer 2 they want to.
Yeah, listen, I mean, every chain has its value prop. Of course, I can speak for Base and Coinbase. Like, people do want to have access to Coinbase Rails, especially with their apps. If they're onboarding users, they want people to be able to onboard instantly into their apps using things like the Base app, which we launched recently. We're trying to make it a lot easier to remove friction for any user. So that's like a good value point for us. Of course, we've got a big distribution channel and wide network, and we're growing that builder network at the moment. So yeah, it's really, I think, once again, L1, L2, or different chains. You have to decide what is most important to you.
Okay.
I would maybe add to it that it's not only the tech and it's not only the distribution, but it's also the support from foundation, from the network team. Like Base is a good example. You're doing a lot for the builders and for projects building in the ecosystem. So when you build your chain, it's good to make sure that you have strong partnerships and strong partners that are coming to ecosystem and will bring tooling and infra from the day one when you launch your chain. And not every network is so much invested in building those relationships. And I think it changes a lot for developer adoption.
If I can jump in, so like from my perspective, when I think that we do not appreciate how really amazing the tech that we are building on is, and how open and permissionless it is. When you are saying that, like, are we there yet, and should builders build on the L2s or Ethereum that we have today? Like, try building Aave on traditional finance rails. Is TradFi there yet, really? Because I've been doing this in the past. I was working for the software company that was building on the traditional rails, and it's impossible. It's not like that. It's not just that it's hard. It's impossible to build this stuff in the traditional rails. It's impossible to build permissionless escrow, such a simple, basic component of any crypto ecosystem. It's impossible to build permissionless escrow in traditional finance, that you don't have to sign, 30 pages documents to be able to access it in the first place. It's impossible to build a financial product or financial experiment on top of traditional finance rails. Constitution DAO, that was a cool experiment from a few years back. It would be impossible to do it, like literally impossible to do it on traditional finance rails. So in my opinion, like, yes, of course, there is a long way still to go, but the things that we already have are already amazing. The things that we already have allow us to build amazing stuff. We don't appreciate Aave. We don't appreciate Maker enough. We don't appreciate ENS enough. And I could go on and for until the end of this panel. However, I would like to also point out to another thing. Because you asked about L2s and L1s, and there was this debate recently if companies should, like, why are companies still building L1s? Like, why is Circle or Stripe going with their L1? And I will not go into that, but I would say that it absolutely makes sense to build L2s. We know how to build L2s. That's the only, like, Ethereum is the only ecosystem that knows how to build a proper L2 that will give certain security guarantees to their users on top of Ethereum. How do you know it? You can go to this like nice website called L2Beat, and you will see there which L2s are actually built properly and which are not. And we know that. But for example, if you have systems built on top of, I don't know, Avalanche or Solana, how do you know? You have no idea. Like, there is no one who can actually attest from the third party if the system that is being built on top of it actually makes use of the security guarantees that the base layer is giving or not. So we have a lot of tooling, we have a lot of components available already on the Ethereum ecosystem that we just need to put into use. And yes, the current adoption is not satisfactory yet. I also, I also dreamed 5 years ago that we'll be in a different place today. However, 3 years ago, with the sentiment in the US 3 years ago, I thought that today we'll be in a way worse place. So I believe that, again, I will repeat it again, slowly, but then suddenly. Once we bridge certain gaps from the legal to user experience to simply mind shift, I think the things will explode.
Yeah, and from a developer perspective, working with many of the L2s is a pain in the ass, because they say they are compatible with Ethereum or EVM compatible, but they are not. And then we had to build our own library, for example, for Arbitrum, because they have different types of messages, and they have a wacky system of gas calculation, which actually changes based on the changes in gas price on L1, which is super annoying and hard to predict. So choosing an L1, L2 from a developer perspective is one. How easy is it to, and how compatible is it with the base layer? And also, actually, the developers care for the security of the whole network, and does the L2 take on this, the security assumptions and the security from L1. So this is what L2Beat is checking. But if you want users and if you want adoption for your application, you actually need to look at which L2 is most popular, and that's it. Like, there's no other way to get mass adoption if you go and deploy on a chain that is not mass adopted. Of course, you can deploy to multiple chains, because that's also easy, but then you have to figure out how to properly go between those chains.
Yeah, it's good that you've mentioned the risks tied to a layer 2s. Krzysztof, I actually have a question for you, because obviously L2Beat is kind of our watch guard on the layer 2s. What are the biggest risks today still, like, in deploying funds into layer 2s? And like, if I wanted to put my mom's pension funds into an L2, like, is that okay? Is that safe, risky? Like, how should people assess that?
So first of all, it's a nuanced question. It depends if you actually are putting your mom's pension money on chain, or are you putting $200 to play with something, or if you are depositing some important money for example, for an organization.
I mean, if we want to have a a global adoption, mass adoption, institutions, etc., like the real money is like pension funds, is like insurance funds that have got trillions of dollars that we want to bring on chain. So I would be looking at
But I
putting
think
$200 on a random layer 2, like no one really cares.
Actually, I think that it is important on many different levels. So of course, like, I will get back to the big funds, but I will give you an anecdote from my personal experience. I have this app that I pay for my children meals at school, and in order to buy those meals in this app, I need to deposit money there. Then I can buy the meals, and and then when the funds go down, I need to redeposit. And my school changed the app provider from one to another during the vacation period. And there is like, you should see the drama on the different Facebook groups, because of course the previous app provider does not allow you to withdraw the money that you've put there previously, so they can still buy meals for some other kids that are still using this app, but not for their kids that are actually in the new school. And the guarantees that we are building, or that we are supposed to build in the ecosystems that we create in this new financial rails, is that this would not be an issue, because we like these L2s are like those security guarantees that we are looking at are actually about, are you able, like, will you be able to withdraw your funds if this chain, for example, ceases to exist? And right now we are listing probably more than 100 different systems, like probably around 200 already. And all those systems are startups. And the universal law of startups says that 90% of those projects will be down 5 to 10 years from now. And you don't know which ones. So you have to be careful when putting money there. And because you can wake up one day and figure out that the system that you've put your money on like no longer exists. And this could be problematic, because you could think that, oh, if I see the announcement that they are closing down, I will withdraw money. What if you are a fund and you are in a legal dispute that disallows you to actually touch this money while the dispute is ongoing, and only after the dispute settles you will be able to do something? But you can wake up in a world that the dispute settles 3 years from now and the system is already down. However, if the system is a properly built L2, like for example, we already have a precedent. So I have a good example to showcase, DYDX. DYDX closed shop on Ethereum a year ago when they were turning off their servers, even though they had made a lot of announcements ahead of time that they are turning off their servers. There was still like around $40 million locked in the bridge of DYDX. However, because if you look on L2Beat, on DYDX assessment, you will see that it's greedish. And if you look into the details, you will see that there are in place mechanisms that will allow you to withdraw your funds no matter if DYDX goes down or not. So even though DYDX no longer supports the Ethereum deployment, if you still have funds locked in DYDX on Ethereum, you can today go to the escape hatch that we built for them. And using this escape hatch, you can withdraw your funds. And it's happening. Already like more than $10 million have been withdrawn using this mechanism since they turned off. This is exactly the mechanism that I'm talking about. Of course, it's more nuanced.
Yeah,
because
but there's, I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's also this one important factor. You are not putting your money into the chain itself. It's very rare that that happens. You are putting this on in an application, and you not only have to look at the chain and at the L2, you also have to look at the application itself. Like, does the vendor have an escape hatch for you at least into this chain, or if they go out, like turn off the services, are you done and you lost your money? So there are multiple layers. L2, that's important, but the applications on those need to be verified as well.
I totally agree. And actually, this is something that we already are covering to some extent on L2Beat. Like when you look into proposer and sequencer failure, this is exactly where we tell you what will happen. Like, will you be able to move the chain forward if this happens? But I totally agree. You also need to be looking at where exactly are you locking your money in. Is the protocol that you are locking your money in will allow you to withdraw the funds? Because it doesn't matter if the chain has, like, let's say, even 30-day exit window. If the protocol that you locked your tokens have a half a year lock implemented. So yes, I totally agree. And actually, I don't want to spoil too much, but we are slowly starting to look into the particular assets and look into where those assets are locked on the chain that they are placed. Because this is, I totally agree, this is something that also needs to be taken into consideration and also needs to be monitored.
One topic that Paweł, you brought in, like, you did give this example of Arbitrum that they're EVM compatible, but obviously you have to kind of build your infrastructure differently for that chain because like of some messaging changes, etc. So
yeah, don't get me wrong, it's great. It's a great chain.
No, it's not a banter about Arbitrum, but it's a great example. So I have a question both to you and to Marta, because like you like both your projects are building infrastructure on different networks and different, layer 1s, layer 2s. So like how universal the existing infrastructure like Oracle's indexers are today, that like if a new layer 2 comes in tomorrow, if there's like new base, new Arbitrum, there's I don't know, Robinhood, layer 2 or layer 1, whichever it's going to be, goes big. Like how difficult it is today to universally apply this infrastructure to new networks, or does it still require some tweaking, some hacking, in the way of like, okay, to give the support to this new chain, I need to do XYZ?
I can maybe start on this. We as an infrastructure provider have indexing support for more than 300 different networks. Most of it in Ethereum, but also in Cosmos, substrate-based chains, Avalanche, of course, and many more, Solana as well. And I think in the EVM ecosystem in Ethereum, it's not a big problem. I mean, at least from the perspective of the indexing, the basic setup is quite universal, and it will be really simple for a provider to bring support for new chain, for a provider like SubQuery. So, and this is quite powerful because it allows us to move fast and collaborate with teams and support them from the day one. And it's also important because the Ethereum space, the developers in Ethereum are also developers who are building cross-chain applications. So the biggest amount of developers who are contributing to cross-chain repositories are building on Ethereum. And this means that this is an ecosystem where there is a lot of cross-chain use cases. And I think it's important to have infrastructure providers who can bring the support easily for new chains and so on. So it's quite easy for EVM. It's a different story for L1s. It's a different story to provide the same developer experience across incompatible ecosystems. And this might be a challenge.
Yeah, so for oracles, it's amazingly easy. We can be on any chain that a customer wants, because if a chain is not used or there are no customers for the oracles, like why bother? But we are on every significant L2, including base significant, and it's super easy if it's EVM compatible, or at least close enough. Because amazingly for oracles, most of the parts that are heavy lifting that we need to be doing are off chain. Like I was surprised that most of the work is off chain. You have to get the proper data source. You have to calculate the value. You have to make sure that there is consensus in the network and that you have all of the 13 validators out of 25 to validate the same value or roughly the same value. Like most of this work is off chain. So for oracles, like we are, any oracle is actually, when done properly, is actually a multi-chain application from the start, like from definition.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. So I think this is going to be a spicy take. Do you think that at the infrastructure layer, decentralization matters? Because we see a lot of infra players that are not decentralized. Even L2s, like Coinbase is not a decentralized network. We have some L2s that are more or less decentralized. Same for infra players, like you have plenty Oracle projects that are not decentralized. Some are, I think. So yeah, does it really matter for the infrastructure layer to be decentralized, or it just needs to be efficient?
Yeah, I think it absolutely does matter. One thing that sticks with me ever since listening to Vitalik's talk at DevCon, absolutely important for all L2s to survive a walkaway test. So, if you're properly decentralized, if the organization is gone in the morning, chain survives. And actually brings me back to that question that you mentioned, would you move your pension fund into a chain? Like today, would you move your mother's pension fund into a neobank, for example?
Probably not.
Okay, and why?
Maybe I did put significant amount of my own money to a neobank, but my mother's pension.
And what stops you from putting it in your mother's pension fund in there? Why is it still only kind of some of your money?
it's a question to my mom, actually, not me.
Diversified portfolio. It's
Yeah,
called.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say it could be kind of, I've always been, use neobanks or whatever, but I wouldn't cash a lot of my money in there because, I'd rather have an institution that I can trust. So isn't it just as important for a chain to have a decentralization mechanism that you can trust? So that's definitely what I think, and I think it's super important for us all to strive for that.
Yeah, you can say many things about the European Union, but like having all of the legal frameworks for even neobank to have to comply to is actually a good thing. I wouldn't trust neobanks based in US because like it's the Wild West there still, but yeah, even neobanks are fine when the legal framework is properly built, and that's the same for L2s. If the network is built properly, so as you said, the walkaway test works, and if you like any L2 goes down and still you can get your funds, that's the only chain you should be using.
But does it apply to a project like Chronicle as well? Like, okay, because layer 2s, of course, it's also like a execution, some sort of a settlement layer. It makes sense. What about like,
What do you mean?
like, should you be decentralized? Like, should your infrastructure be fully decentralized so we can anyone can rely on your price feeds and like be sure that, I don't know, Paweł from Oracle is not going to tamper it and is not going to, fix the price.
Of course, like Oracle,
because you've got, access to the whole
Oracles
infrastructure.
as part of the infrastructure need to be completely decentralized, and of course I'm biased, obviously, but like we are the only Oracle that is sufficiently decentralized, because we have 25 validators that will operate independently of us. Like we cannot tell them to do anything, and they are getting like sourcing the data from different places, and there are no other oracles that do that in a decentralized way as we do. So you've heard all the marketing about oracles being great, but like this decentralization matters to us greatly. So we optimize the hell of the smart contracts for us to be able to be decentralized, because like there's a lot of things that are connected. If you want a fast oracle, decentralization is super hard, because getting consensus from 13 independent validators like takes time. So, but every time choosing an application, choosing an oracle, you have to take into account all of the risks that come with it. And if you want it to be super fast, you probably have to sacrifice some of the decentralization. If you want it to be a little bit slower but sufficiently decentralized, then you can do that. But always do your homework about any application, including oracles, including L2s, including L1s, because I don't know who's using Solana. Like this is an overhyped chain and doesn't make sense.
Let's not start this conversation.
I would love to add to it. Decentralization matters to us at SubQuery as well. And it's not only the fact that this is the ethos of Web3. This is why we are here. It mitigates the risks. It allows us to build more secure applications and don't rely on single point of failure. But the fact is that not only the layer 1s, layer 2s, they have to be decentralized, but also applications, like from bottom to the top. Everything should be decentralized, or at least as much as it can be. But the thing is that we are observing a growing tendency, actually, for projects building in Web3 on opting out from the decentralized services in favor of centralized RPCs, for instance, or centralized hosting of indexers. So looks like the efficiency or some maybe in-depth look into what's happening with the data, some additional features, but most importantly, the efficiency, the performance is more important than decentralization. And even affordability, because for instance, for SubQuery, we also have a decentralized network, which is a marketplace for the app builders. If they want to index their data, they can publish a project, and the globally distributed network of node operators will going to index this data for them. So it's not us indexing, it's node operators. The level of entry is very low, it's very affordable, but the a little bit lower performance is a deal breaker for many projects in the space. So yeah, that's something we're observing currently. All right.
Let me just also add, from my perspective, decentralization of course matters, but it's not a silver bullet. It's not like the recipe that solves all the hurdles, and you can just stamp decentralization on something and call it a day. Because the question is like, what is decentralization for? And that's why when we are looking in and assessing the, for example, L2s, we are not just looking, we are not trying to say this is decentralized, this is not decentralized. We are looking at, okay, what security guarantees are being provided to the users and in what ways? Sometimes it is achieved by like very thoroughly decentralized ecosystem underneath. Sometimes it's achieved via other mechanisms that allow you to step in case you need to step in, or that allow you to use some other mechanism if somebody is trying to censor you. So of course, like to keep it short, of course, decentralization matters. It's usually it's the best tool for resilience, for sustainability. To decentralize those systems means that there are no single points of failure, for example, or no bottlenecks. So these are important factors. But it has to be looked at thoughtfully. And we always, when looking at decentralization, we need to ask why and how.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move the topic a little bit more into dev tooling and general dev experience. Evan, I'd like to start with you because obviously Base is doing a lot of kind of kits, kind of tooling for developers. Do we have enough building blocks, so dev can come and just, okay, I want to use this for embedded wallets. I want to use that for I don't know, passkey signing, etc. So is it easy enough so non-Web3 dev can come and build an app that is built on on-chain rails, or do they still need to learn their part of the on-chain coding, Solidity, etc., to be able to build a mainstream app?
So once again, going back to this Urbe bootcamp, like these people are Web 2 mainly, coming on building apps, and it's amazing to see what they've just done with on-chain kit that we have. They're just taking components and APIs from Coinbase Developer Platform, and they're up and running with a wallet connect, transaction buttons, everything that they need to get started. On the user side of it, then, what have we done in that side? It's like, how do we actually face the consumer? So we have the Base smart wallet, or Base account it's called now, which you're logging in with your Face ID or your smart or your passkey on your device, and that's a big level up for user and less user friction, user onboarding and less user friction. So I would say yes, we're there for anyone to get up and running. I mean, even if you have no dev knowledge now, you can fiddle away with Replit or whatever, and you can really get up and running quite quickly. However, what differentiates you from the rest of the mainstream apps? That's going to take more work. How do you use those tools to create a new innovative app that people want to use? And then what we have now just launched was a Base app. That's our distribution channel for any apps on Base. And we're doing that through mini apps. So we have a mini kit thing as well. So we'll be probably looking more into that for the hackathon, looking at mini apps, and really excited to see what people build. In general, we're seeing like huge distribution through the Base app. Mini apps are instantly accessible. Think like, who might have used Farmville on Facebook? No one? Well, me. Yeah, so like they're being able to access apps in a very easy manner has been a big level up. Obviously, continuing on from Chris, like, okay, we went from web apps to mobile apps, but now within the app itself, mini apps I think is a good distribution channel. But in general, yeah, we've loads of tooling. We're always building new dev tooling. Like we've got the platform, super fast transactions, super low fees, dev tooling then for anyone to come and deploy on Base, and then access to the distribution that we offer through Base app and other products that we have, and especially of course the Coinbase on rails on ramp and off ramp. So that's kind of how our flywheel works. We want 1 million builders building apps for 1 billion users with $1 trillion assets on platform. So that's how we're getting there.
So can we make the crypto UX invisible already, or is it still going to leak somewhere, like those and it's an open question.
Yeah, like I'm seeing, like today there's lots of apps that are using or currently that have abstracted away, like they've taken the C off the USDC in their app. You know, they're abstracting away their wallets, their smart wallets now. People are able to just create wallets instantly. So yeah, I think we're really moving in the right direction with abstraction. And then if we're to onboard, you know, our existing Web2 applications that are all around the world today, it's that abstraction away from crypto that they want. You know, adding wallet connect buttons and all these kind of things is not necessarily what they want to add to their users' onboarding experience just yet. So making that super easy through smart accounts will be really important as well.
Also, let me add to this. Like, I think we've seen recently with the Zelensky's suit on Polymarket drama that we already made the technology behind the scenes invisible for many users, because many people betting on that particular bet.
It's
They were-
casino. It's still we're still going around the same kind of circles.
but they were not aware how exactly are those deals and those bets settled. So we kind of achieved this goal already.
I agree. Like Polymarket, you know, especially around the U.S. election, was like a lot of non-crypto people were using it and like, had no idea what's in the back end, which is a great example, as you said.
It worked.
And it worked. I mean, it still works. It's still casino. It's still betting, but right, you know.
It just got approval in US.
Yeah, no. I mean, you know, we could have a completely different panel on like, you know, like majority of crypto is just, you know, another level of casinos, you know, meme coins, betting, you know,
The other majority
trading.
is scam.
But yeah, that's not the topic. So
Yeah, about tooling, I want to say like there's a lot of tooling for front-end applications. There's less tooling for backend, and if you're talking infrastructure, it's mostly backend. It's mostly the things that people do not see. So like what I am personally missing is tooling from the L2s, tooling for the backend, for interacting with the chains behind the scenes, because when institutions go into crypto, and they are doing that, like they're not going to be interested in using someone else's design, someone else's application logic on the front end. They'll be interested in building their own. And of course, this will be the centralized part, but there's no way around it. The institutions will be centralized, but they need tooling to be able to connect to the chains, operate on the chains, and do everything seamlessly. Like we have to do it ourselves for oracles, and like I'm a backend developer. This is fun for me, but I don't think it's fun for everyone.
If I can add to this, because like I've been serving the several grants councils in the past, and something that I saw is that one very important support for builders that is needed and is too often overlooked is the non-technical support. Because like what we were trying to figure out, okay, we had, let's say, 50 applications every 3 months that we approved grants for builders. We are in the Builders Grants Council. So we were approving applications for 50 builders every 3 months. But how can we help them succeed? How can we help them, go to another level? How can we help them to reach their audience and find their audience? And I think that this, this is there is still a huge gap where we can, and a lot of low-hanging fruits where we can really help and alleviate this whole space, very much. And actually, again, I have to praise Base and Jesse Pollack. Like, I think that I know of many builders that came to Base simply because they were hoping that one day Jesse will use their app and will shout out on Twitter that he used this app. Like, this is underappreciated tool that really, really helps builders, and we need more of that.
Interesting. I like that you guys front run my last question without knowing it, because it seems like we have a general consensus. Like, if we're not there yet, we're like super close to being ready for the app layer and the groundbreaking applications. But if we want to onboard the famous billion users on chain, is there anything missing? You answered the question. Thank you. But yeah, is there anything else missing? Is there anything that need to click so we can kind of move past this vantage point and onboard billion users, or are we just missing this one super app that will do it?
I think education. and like a basic financial education for people to be able to use those applications safely, but for people to be actually using them at all. Because right now the financial system works very seamlessly. You just pay and there's nothing to it. If someone wants only that, like there's not really a big use for crypto for them. But if they want to do some more advanced stuff, they can go and use the TradFi or DeFi. And DeFi is way better, 24/7, decentralized mostly. And like this is what they need to be educated on: financial education, and then how to use different toolings, like different products, financial products, and how to use them on chain.
I think education is important, but I also have to admit that in general, also in Web3, is the same principle valid like in Web2. Don't make me think. Things should be easy and friendly and user friendly to use. So I think we still need maybe a few super apps like with network effect that everybody will be using. Your mom, your grandmother, your neighbor, maybe completely abstracted from the Web3 culture or the blockchain feeling, but yeah, that's what, like education is important, but we also have to make it easier for users.
Yeah,
I think what we've really been driving in on is trying to crack the social. We're all using social media today. Maybe some of you have deleted your apps, whatever. But in Base app now, we've integrated the Farcaster feed. So like that's been a big way for us. Like people are now onboarding their mothers, their fathers to posting and then coining their content using Zora, things like this that actually make it very easy for people to understand. Okay, I'm creating content. I own my content. I can earn from my content instead of centralized entities earning on your behalf. So I think that's the big one that we're trying to crack at the moment is how do we get people just casually using day-to-day in their scrolling day-to-days using social, because that's how we'll get the distribution amongst everyone. And then the crypto part of it is just playing in the back end.
I used to have this take that the app that's going to onboard billion users is not going to be built by Web3 startup, that it's going to be someone from the outside coming in, building this, amazing app, great UX. They'll just use the on-chain rails.
we need new ideas.
And like none of the existing Web3 companies is going to do it, but we'll see if that.
I kind of agree, and like my take is that the only thing that we need is time. As in my opinion, like this change is already inevitable. Like it already happened. Like in Bulgakov, the milk is already spilled, and now we just will observe the world changing. It's an exciting times ahead of us, and we can bet on who will actually build this new app that will onboard a billion users. But I think that it's already done. Like we are never going back already. So yeah, we just need time.
Yeah, but we need protection against over-regulation, because like when you have a river, it goes where it goes, or the milk spilled, it goes where it goes. But you can try to steer it in a place that is going to end up like a trash.
I absolutely agree, and that's why also like we need time, but it can take more time or less time. Like the recent changes in U.S. administration like shortened this gap and like made us wait less time, but it can also go the other way around, and that's also why I'm so frustrated with like Circle and Stripe doing with their own L1s, because like I believe that inevitably they will go back to the
they will go back,
but it will
Celo
simply
moved to
make more time.
BL2. Celo moved to BL2, so the rest will too. They will see the light.
Exactly.
Yeah, of course. Cool. So that's it for the main part. We have 5 minutes remaining for some questions, if there are any from the audience. If there aren't, then I have a bonus question then. So what about AI? Is the on-chain infrastructure ready for autonomous agents to interact with the technology? Like my take on this is, basically blockchain is the only way for AI agents to join the economy that we are all part of, because it's programmatic and they can actually interact with it. So do you think like there is enough infrastructure, or are we just kind of touch the base on it and like we still need lot more innovation here.
Yeah, I like your questions. It's always, are we there or not? You know, maybe we're somewhere in that level. But yeah, look, I mean, we've been doing that as well with Agent Kit and X402. We're trying to make it really easy for people to build and deploy agents. On the user side, that's another aspect I didn't really mention. But in the base app now, we have agents hanging out there. So on the front page, you can click on BankerBot or on it a prediction market. You don't have to even understand how to use an app. You just talk to the agent. It gives you a good understanding of what's happening and does the transaction for you. So on that side, I think it's been really successful, and we are there. But yeah, once again, getting that distribution to the users so that they can access them. You know, that's what we're trying to do with the base app, with the social feed. People are using. Okay, I want to do some more on chain. Okay, well, here's an agent that can help you do it. So yeah, it's absolutely a very, very important use case for crypto and on-chain tech. But we're getting there.
Yeah.
Łukasz.
No, but the question is, you know, is the infra ready? Not the distribution, not the users. Like my kind of, you know, question comes like, are we ready for, you know, the super apps, the builders? Like, can tomorrow a completely non-crypto dev come with a great idea to build, you know, an on-chain app, and they have all the building blocks to do this? They can easily do this without, you know, spending hours or weeks or months learning, you know, the new programming language. But it seems like the conclusion here is like, we are almost there, like we're very close, and we just need those amazing app builders and the distribution. Marta?
Yeah, the LLMs help with the documentation. The agents can do stuff for you. So we are, or like, I think we are actually there for AI, like both agents and artificial intelligence LLMs help people on board. But AI will not do your job for you.
Yeah, I will add to it. Yes, I think we are here, and I think blockchain is actually a perfect industry for AI application. The data will only grow. The complexity is here, and if we want to bring more developers into the space, AI agents are the way to do it, or AI tools to help developers build in Web3. Two latest examples from SubQuery. We've built MPC and to allow Copilot, Cursor, and other programs to easily understand SubQuery projects. So essentially, with no knowledge about the indexing and SubQuery project, you are able to build up your indexer in a couple of minutes. Really just being a master of prompts, right? Because that's another skill we all have to develop. And another thing is that we've built a GraphQL agent to actually, for existing indexing project, to query the data in the database with natural language and with limited understanding of the data structure. So there are tools, and this is just the beginning, and I think we'll see more and more in AI space, especially in infrastructure, yeah.
So I will say something different. Like, in my opinion, we are not there yet, but it's not our fault. It's AI's fault. Like, AI, like on the AI front,
AI is not
the
there yet.
developers are lagging, and AI simply, in my opinion, doesn't understand yet the what we have here. They are trying to fit crypto into their understanding of the world that is based on the knowledge that they've built based on traditional rails. So they don't still, like, the AI still doesn't grasp the difference and doesn't grasp the opportunities that are in this space. This will change sooner or later, but that's, in my opinion, why we are not there yet. But it's not our fault, it's their fault.
Nice.
Right. Thank you very much. We're just on time. So thank you very much for those great panelists. I hope you guys enjoyed the panel, and I'll see you around.
Yeah, thank you, Łukasz.